class, we're going to use Cinema 4D tool called Fields for building dynamic vertex map and using for blending Redshift materials. On screen you see the result of this class, and if you like it, let's start. Let's start building our effect from sphere, which will be displaced with some simple noise. So we drop it here, we change visualization to lines and constant shading, increasing the number of segments, maybe change to something with regular grid, displacer maybe 180, going to noise, set animation speed to 1, and let's play. Now we have base animation, we're adding extra scale, duplicate once again, one more displacement with big global scale and lower animation speed, so we have more complex morphing. We set loop period to 6 and decrease 1 frame because we have 30 FPS, and going to another displays, going to loop period 6, and we have loopable animation. And now we have to convert our sphere to polygonal model because we need to have vertex map. Now we're going to create a vertex map. We have to go to polygonal selection, select set vertex weight 0, and we have our vertex map. Now we're going to use fields. First of all, we'll create shader graph, shader field with noise, and we need to get our spike zones. For example, I pick dense, lowering the clip, so we have these zones, and we create one more displacer. Let me name it spikes, going to effects, vertex map, and dropping our vertex map here. And now we have these spikes. Now we need to go to our field and create some growing effect. We add another shader field with noise, maybe more contrast, like this. I'm extending global scale, going to field, going to maybe subtract or min. So I have some zones free of spikes. Now we'll create one more field called spherical field, and I select it, and we see that where it connects to our sphere we have 100 weight. We're going to frame 0, create keyframe 10, the same, so we don't connect to our sphere, maybe up a bit. For 1 frame we need to push our vertex map to 100%. And now, instead of having freeze, we're going to set this mode from none to grow. Let me disable this thing, and it works. Now we're going and put our freeze to top, and you'll see that it blows all our setup away. That's why we have to manage and find the proper blending mode. Subtract is not good, multiply looks great, and min I think looks great. Let's play, and we have our spikes start to grow. Now in freeze we have to go to radius and extend it. Now we see we have our spikes. Maybe we can find lower radius for smaller growing, adding, for example, delay with spring effect. It brings this popping effect of our spikes and slow it down. I think this is what we need. Let me create camera in front with 0 value except z-axis, and now we have something working. This is our base setup, so let's dive into materials. So let's start to play with material, and before I start I'll disable this delay effect, so we have no delay in viewport and can navigate with this element. I pick up Redshift render, set this resolution for vertical video because it's easier for me to work in this resolution of my desktop. I'm going to create Redshift render view and create few layers. Lights, area light at the top, so very simple light setup. Maybe 3 intensity, or maybe put it down, and 1 at the bottom, so it backlights our geometry, and decrease the intensity. Our setup is ready, and I create a material, simple material in Redshift, and let's play with it. I duplicate one more material, set to gold. I use preset, add some roughness, and we need material blender. Connect first one, second one, and vertex map node. The fields is the powerful tool, and we easily can drag and drop our pre-made vertex map for displacement into material blender. So we'll get these golden spikes. Now we have to play with Redshift tessellation. So smooth it. Instead of adding subdivision surface, I think we can decrease maybe to 3 and add displacement. I think we will use it. Going to close to our material. Let's investigate what we have here, and let's add ramp node for recoloring our rearranging the zone of our vertex map. We can push this white larger influence of our vertex map like this. Add some roughness. I think too much is not good. We lost this golden reflection. I think this looks nice. And let's play with base material. I create layer. Let's delete this layer mask. And let's stage some materials for good detailed surface. I use noise. I disable this for now. I'm going to maybe turbulence. Yes, turbulence works well. And my logic is to create few noise layers. Let me add layer 2, layer 1 color, enabled, overlay. And I extend this overall scale, and it will small our noise here. And I decrease the strength. I just want to have small value for layer 1 and one more layer, maybe 4. Layer 2, the same logic, overlay, and it adds too much strength. I will use small value. And now I create color constant, and composite node. Blend and to the surface. I change composite mode to multiply. This will allow us to use external composite node for coloring and keeping this bump turning with color. I think something green. Let's connect it to diffuse. I think pretty nice. And we load our color layer to the bump map and to our erase material bump input. And maybe we can increase this roughness. Maybe like this. And let's zoom in to play with our bump, decreasing maybe the strength of our reflection, or maybe increasing the bump strength, maybe 2. Yes, we have these microstructures going here. I think 4 is too much, 3. And let's try to use displacement node with the same erase color layer. So you'll see we have one setup and then just recoloring and reusing for different inputs, displacement. I think this looks much interesting. Now we can change our material to our blend material, and now we'll get our gold spikes, but they still have this bump. In our displays node we have this enable auto bump mapping. Let me disable it. And our gold will keep the roughness, the base roughness in material, and lose all these bumping. Let me go to our bump map and maybe decrease the strength to 2. No, 3. And let's play with our small details, maybe extend them. I think it's too much, so something in between. Now we're going back to our camera to look what we have. This is our bottom layer and this is our top. And I think I will decrease the glossy effectiveness. Maybe in half. At the top and at the bottom. This is our base setup. I think we can play with displacement. Maybe add a bit. Let me check big numbers. Oh, I think this looks nice. This is the result of our playing with materials in Redshift and using this vertex map for our animation. Let's calculate the animation and we'll see what result we have. As we see at the start of our video, we have this not great element and I would like to work with it, but before I'd like to tweak our main noise size. Maybe I want to increase it so we have larger chunks, maybe 75. Yes, it looks more organic. Let me try to work and to load it to the roughness, just playing with the ramp node. And now we have these different zones where we have 100% of roughness. Let me move this white to the left, and we'll see the black zones looks almost no rough. It's like glossy. Let me up this thing up maybe to 15, and let's find the balance. Yes, I think this looks more organic and interesting, and maybe add color to reflection, maybe some green. No, not too much. Like this. We're going to our sphere. We disable all animation in X and Z position and all the scale on this rotation, I use holding Ctrl Shift and left click. So left click adding keyframe, Ctrl Shift remove. And in fields, I add delay back before render. Let me disable it for faster preview. And I put our sphere to the back. Let me check. Will it start to grow our spikes? Maybe a bit more. Yes, and let's see. Going back to 0 frame, going to up the delay, loading our render view. We'll see, does it hide our gold element? Where are our spikes? I think here it comes. And let's play. And everything looks nice. We have this gold element, gold start inflation at the back, and all spikes still coming from the top and from the side. And I think this looks very organic. I use maybe some default samples settings. We can check it going to samples mode. And if white is too much, we have to crank the samples max, so we'll have lower the white zones. For example, we can check, so maybe this is reflection and we have to up it. I think not. Very high settings. But maybe all we have to play with is light. This will get us a beautiful image. Maybe up our reflection and decrease maybe diffuse to lower value. Let me render this thing, current frame, maybe in high resolution, and check the quality. I don't see a lot of noise, and I think these render settings should works fine. And we have these spikes, we have this organic look, and this what we're trying to achieve. After we create and finish the animation, I add few cameras with stage control over them. And now we have zooming, then close up, and then third camera. I'll try to add few details. I disable delay, select our sphere, going to polygons, right click and subdivide once again. So we have a little additional polygon grid, and maybe it brings few more places for extra spikes. Maybe you go to shader field, let me rename it to maybe spikes, going to global scale, maybe decrease it a bit. Yes, we have a lot of spikes, big one, small one, and maybe up lower clip. And yes, this is the result I want to achieve at the end, and maybe I decrease focal length, just not to cut the sides of our sphere, maybe 47. And now I hit render the animation, going to the first frame, going to on our delay. Let me show you the settings. I keep everything the same. I add camera tag with depth of field, so I have to increase this samples max. Let me check the other settings. I think works nice. We're going maybe to optimization, and we don't have refraction here and transparency. We can decrease them, and maybe we can decrease reflection maybe to 3. So going to output, going to all frames and render. Now we have our render being complete, and let's check the animation. I think this looks pretty organic and very wobbly as I want. Hope you like this result and have a nice day.